Hi, I'm Hovain Hilton. This is Best Seat in the House, and we're live in Soho at the Adidas Original Store with Jon Wexler, aka the Sneaker God. Thanks, Jon. I appreciate you doing this.
My man.
Anytime we get to hang out is always a good time.
Hilarious.
We have a great, long-standing relationship, and I've been a brand supporter and Adidas loyalist for many years, and Jon's been very instrumental in helping me along the way.
Man, our relationship almost is like the beginning of the next chapter of the Adidas evolution.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, I think I met you in person for the first time at that Brooklyn Nets launch we did at Kit years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when we announced that partnership. And it seems like our business has been it was on an incline, and then it went just
I'm
through the
Adidas'
roof.
good luck charm.
You might be.
Recently, Adidas has been killing everything. Skateboard shoes, the lifestyle, the athletes, everything. Speak a little bit about that.
Oh, I think that the brand has just become really consumer-centric. And so when you put the consumer at the front end of all your decision-making, it makes the rest of the decisions a lot easier. And I think our sports marketing group, our design team, our marketing team, our team that works in the non-athlete space and works with celebrities, influencers, people such as yourself, everyone's on the same page now. And when you have enough people unified behind a single cause with the same mindset, you can really achieve anything.
Tell me a little bit about your upbringing, your background. How did it all start? I know you're from Illinois.
Yeah, I grew up right outside Chicago, about 40 minutes outside the city. So in the 80s, I was going to high school, and I was playing basketball, about 8 hours a day.
What position?
I was a shooting guard and a small forward. I wanted to be a point guard. I wanted to be running the floor for the team, but there was better, footwork and ball handling skills on our team. From playing basketball, I kind of learned how to anticipate where plays were developing to, and I feel like playing within that team environment and playing that sport specifically helped me a lot later in life. Fast forward to when I turned 17, I stopped playing, and I started getting into music, and that's when I bought my turntables and crossfader and all those original Scott LaRock BDP albums, all the double, yellow cover. I can still see it vividly in my mind. All those remixes, Run DMC original vinyl, going back to like Spoonie G, Schoolie D, and all those guys. So hip hop's always been just kind of a part of my DNA, and it all started with Run DMC for me when I was about 14. So those two aspects really kind of formed who I was. Then going to college, I went to University of Wisconsin, and I was kind of bouncing around. My dad used to call me and be like, "What's your major?" And I swear, every time I talked to him, I had a new one. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to be involved in music and sports. And so I tried to put as much energy into my extracurricular stuff as the actual schoolwork. And so I was DJing my way through college, and a buddy of mine and I decided to start promoting hip-hop shows, and that didn't go so well, but it went really well. And what I mean is that we didn't know what we were doing, so we didn't know what not to do, and we basically made every mistake along the way.
What you learned from it?
We learned incredible life lessons from it. And in fact, that experience put me into a space of, that first step toward what I'm doing now, because we lost all of our investors' money for these shows. So in order to pay them off, I started working for them in my junior year of college, and then my senior year, and then first year out of school. Was an independent sales rep for my brother's hat company and a couple other young men's brands that catered to like the streetwear space. So starting around 1993, I transitioned into that part of my life, and then that opened the door to Adidas a few years later.
Speak a little bit about your mantra. I don't know if it's your mantra, but a mantra I've adopted from you, not being scared to fail.
Yeah, I think it just comes back to being curious and not afraid to ask the dumb / uncomfortable questions sometimes. I think anytime somebody doesn't give themselves a chance to fail, they're kind of limiting their full potential. So, they say 10,000 hours is what makes you an expert. I think it's 10,000 mistakes. It's just not making that same mistake twice, which I've also done. So, and I'm humble about it, because I know that everything that I've done right and everything I've done wrong is what's put me in the spot I'm in today.
Talk a little bit about some of the lifestyle stuff that you've done with Adidas. You're very, very, very responsible. We hear Kanye shout you out all the time. It was a little bit after I started shouting you out too. You had Kanye shouting you out for being responsible for bringing him there. Speak a little bit about that situation, how that came to pass.
Well, in 2009, Adidas Originals, made our first television ad since the late 80s. And in doing that, the team that I work in now was responsible for bringing in people like Young Jeezy, Method Man, Redman, Missy Elliott, DMC, Russell Simmons,
Hovain,
Katy Perry, etc., into that ad.
Yeah.
And this was in 2009. It was an ad called The House Party. And my boss and I were talking about how we had just done, it was an incredible film that lived on television and online, but we really felt like we could have better maximized it if we had forged deeper relationships with the people in the campaigns and brought it to life on the ground and through their real lives. And so I think that was a true insight for us, because that became our sort of like go forward practice. And so I joined the team that I'm on now, and we began to take it from product seeding mentality to a product seeding plus to the point where we're bringing these relationships closer to the brand, and then working with those people on advertising or concert events in our store, and then those people get invites to for example, the EQT launch that we did out here a week ago, which you can kind of see around the store as being celebrated.
With the success of Adidas now in the marketplace, a lot of people are saying it kind of took the #1 spot from other competitors. You see kids now camping out, you see now long lines. How do you guys go about moving forward to keep that momentum?
Well, I think it goes back to freshness. The market was stagnant, and we disrupted it. And we disrupted it through the amazing designs that our design team's been creating, the insights that our product team has been gathering. We have an army of people working on our product, and it all starts there. And then the messaging comes from that. And the messaging is born from the inspiration that goes into the product itself. In terms of momentum, you're absolutely right. We had this amazing product insight in Boost, and it has been a revelation for our brand. Kanye's support for that, Pharrell's support for that, the way that Kanye insisted it was in his products, it really took that technology and broadened its scope and appeal to a much larger consumer base. That said, it goes back to that technology, and the team that worked on that was working on that probably for 5-6 years. To be honest, it's in a secret part of our building that my badge doesn't even get me into. So we have a team that really looks out 5 to 10 years in the future for design, and they're like scientists about the way they go about their business.
Teamwork.
It is teamwork, and that's really what's led to Adidas' success. It's this idea that we've all gotten behind the same vision.
I follow you on social media. We've been friends. We speak offline. Mm-hmm. The #1 question is kids asking you for sneakers and things of that. So tell me some of the wildest requests and the most random things that people ask you for.
People don't really ask me for anything. They kind of just shout at me for them. It's funny. I think that the wildest requests are the ones I get on email from like people that are like friends of friends of friends of friends of mine from growing up in high school. I mean, even if there are people I did know, the reality is I can't help them purchase sneakers from Adidas. Our team's job is to seed product, not to sell product. This is where they can go if they want to buy it. So I do get a lot of like, hey, my son was on your website and this, that, and and then they'll copy their son, and then I'll get like a series of like 72 emails from a 14-year-old. And I have over 100,000 emails right now. I'd say 90,000 of them are unopened, easy requests from people I've never met.
Because I get it. They'll be like, hey, you're friends with Jon Wexler.
Yeah,
hey, can you introduce me to your friend? I'm like, no.
I mean, and also I will say, I mean, it's gone beyond Yeezy now. I mean, I'm getting it is everything. It's Yeezy, it's NMD, it's Ultra Boost, it's EQT, it's Adios, Adizero. I'm getting requests for those now. Really, where we put Boost, people gravitate to it because it's so comfortable and just such an eye opener. Once you put it on your feet, it's a true game changer.
It definitely is. You have any advice to the kid out there who's not just asking you for sneakers, but actually wants to get into the sneaker game, actually wants to be the next Jon Wexler?
Well, I mean, I kind of had a random way of arriving in this role. I think most people think I have like an entertainment background. Everyone's like, "Well, were you an agent in Hollywood or whatever?" And it's like, no, I was in product, and I worked in product creation, and then I moved over to marketing at Adidas, but in a very non-linear sort of path. I think that if anyone's trying to succeed in their life, they just need to give themselves a chance and not feel like that mistake is the end of the world, and to have enough confidence to know that the sun's going to rise tomorrow, and you got another chance to go out there and fight. Like, you know, kids doing homework, you get an F, you can always improve your grades if you work harder. You miss that shot at the end of the game, you get to the gym early the next day. If you are in a role in a corporation where you have to innovate or sort of like anticipate where the market's trending, you need to do your research. And sometimes that research, you might be asking the wrong questions, and then you got to like double back and say, am I really looking ahead, or am I seeing what's happening today? And by the time I do it, it'll be late. And I think that with the rate of consumption and just the internet and information and there's all the info out there right now, you really have to ask those extra questions these days, because things happen so fast. But the kid who wants to be next is just someone who builds their network, someone who is willing to talk to everybody. You never know where that next great idea is going to come from, where that next great relationship is going to come from, where you have to be open to things. And if you're not open, then opportunities could be passing you by left and right.
I just came from a black tie event, and I was seeing people in tuxedos and Adidas. Like, you know, I was actually going to do that, but I didn't get a chance to. But is there any time where you get dressy, like you get kind of corporate and you wear sneakers? If so, what sneakers?
You're so funny, man. I live in sweats. I actually didn't wear sweatpants for this interview as my way of dressing it up. But, you know, I work for a sports brand. That's the best part of it, is that we get to wear that product all the time. I mean, it's so comfy, traveling, cozy, you know, the whole thing. Yeah, I see you. But yeah, the last wedding I went to, I got myself a fresh, you know, blue suit, and I wore a pair of crisp Stan Smiths with it. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of ripped that off from Arthur Holt, who wore that to the Footwear News Awards a year ago when we got Sneaker of the Year with Yeezys. My wife was like, what are you going to wear to the wedding? And I was like, I got the perfect fit. I'm ready. I know exactly what I'm doing. My suit was off the rack, though Arthur's was Prada, I believe. So, you know, slightly different. But Arthur's the general manager of Originals, and he's really been a driving force behind all the growth that the brand has experienced on the lifestyle side for the last 3 years.
With you not only working for the company, but you actually really being an authentic sneakerhead yourself for many years, give me your top 5 Adidas rotation right now.
My top 5 rotation right now, wow. You know, I'm really into newness. And so what we've been doing with Boost, I would have to say, it'll probably be the running theme throughout all these shoes. But my top 5 right now is the Adidas Originals EQT 9317, the shoe we just launched a couple weeks ago. Full Boost midsole. It's one of the cushiest shoes I've ever worn from the brand. You know, it's debatable, but it may be the most comfortable Boost shoe we've made to date.
I'm looking forward to getting a pair of those.
Definitely a pair of Hardens. You know, with what Harden's doing right now. MVP run, beast, just driving things, and also just like an amazing cultural guy, like diverse interests and, you know, authentically cool. And then obviously a pair of Ultra Boosts, a pair of Yeezy Boosts, and probably the OG color of the NMD. That's still a shoe that I revere and covet.
Special. That
shoe really was obviously like a huge pillar in this revolution that you've been talking about in terms of Adidas growth. You know, I still feel like we have a lot of room to cover. We're by far and away not where we want to be yet. We are so hungry and so determined to continue to push the market forward.
Give me some of the best advice you ever received and some of the worst advice also.
Wow. Well, I don't know if this is considered advice, but I heard something yesterday. The guys from the Brooklyn Farm, I was out here for an offsite, and the guys from the Brooklyn Farm organized a trip through the Brooklyn Museum. Okay. And I believe she was the curator of the entire museum, or the director of the museum. And she quoted Abraham Lincoln, and I just think it's very timely in terms of our business and what we're trying to do from a driving the marketplace with our brand, but also in terms of just what's going on socially right now and in culture and in our lives. Without public sentiment, you can't accomplish anything, but with public sentiment, you're unstoppable. And I truly believe that, and I feel like that public sentiment is what made Adidas' latest growth happen. It wasn't like retailers or kids were asking us for the stuff we were doing. But what they were asking for was newness and for someone to come along and break the mold and try to do things differently. And I think that we recognized that, and we were able to gather that public sentiment around our brand. And now that we have kids' hearts and minds, we're trying to deliver them the types of products that are going to add value in their lives, whether it's you're on the basketball court, on the football field, running a marathon, or just walking to class. So I don't know if that's quite advice, but you know, I remember before the biggest speaking event I ever gave, I walked up to the stage, and as I walked up there, the guy tapped me on the back and said, "Don't fuck this up."
What's some of the worst advice you ever got?
Some of the worst advice that I got is just stick to sneakers. Just stay in your lane. Just this, just that. I think that anytime someone's telling you how to communicate and trying to step on your passion, you have to recognize it for what it is and reject that premise outright and just keep moving forward.
Thank you so much, Jon. Appreciate you. Hovain Hilton, best seat in the house, live from the Adidas Original store.